very serious tonight. And Mike from around the world is going to join us in just a few moments with information that should make everybody here find a place to pray. He'll be joining us here in just a few moments. First of all, let me just quickly get this out of the way, and that's www.healthwithpaul.com. That's www.healthwithpaul.com. I first heard about collagen from a fitness influencer, and I saw them add a scoop of collagen into their smoothies and their shakes in the mornings. I said, what are they doing? One scoop in the soup and you're supposed to be okay? But collagen, bring that in there, Heidi. Bring that in there. Is that, oh man, I'm going live in 1 minute. I'm live, what am I talking about? Okay, I'll have to get to you when I'm done. Oh man, you're bringing a meatloaf in here right now. I'm trying to tell people to cut back and get some collagen. What? BioTrust, check it out, www.healthwithpaul.com. That's www.healthwithpaul.com. All right, guys. Mike around the world is going to join us here in a few moments, and we're going to talk about some very important things that's happened. Now, I'm sorry that we only had 1 hour advance notice for this, but as you know, today, North Korea has already fired an intercontinental ballistic missile toward the east as it landed in the ocean. This was a powerful intercontinental ballistic missile, long range, with the ability to carry a nuclear payload. It also has the capability of reaching the United States of America. What is Kim Jong-un going boom, 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 boom? Is he helping Russia out by making the Americans have to scramble and watch what he's doing? Did China tell little Kim, the little dictator, to do it? I don't know. And while that's going on, the United States, the United Kingdom, Europe, Canada, all of them have shut Russia off of the SWIFT banking system on select banks. And it's the big ones. So this is a crippling effect to Russia. And this will affect, but also it's going to hurt even businesses in the European Union, Canada, the United States, and the UK. But those businesses will just have to figure out another process, which is not going to be easy. Even though it's hurting some of our own banks, we are still doing it. This has just happened in the same hour that North Korea fired this intercontinental ballistic missile. But wait, there's more. Mike around the world has now some more information, very crucial, and he said he's willing to come on and share it with us in the next 2 or 3 minutes. Phone will ring any minute, and we'll be ready when he does. Certainly we're living in the end times. Certainly we're living in the last days. If for some reason this broadcast gets knocked off YouTube, we will still be live at my website at paulbegleyprophecy.com. That's www.paulbegleyprophecy.com. Beautiful story. Just put the link in the chat room right there. You might want to click on it and have it ready. Or just go to my website right now and have that tab open. paulbegleyprophecy.com, and at the top it says Paul Begley TV. You click there, and that will take you right. Well, let me just show you. Here's what it does. This is just because there's 1,400 people here. I would hate for someone to miss what we're about to say. So I'll do it this way. Let's go to paulbegleyprophecy.com. Let's go there right now. Okay? Here we go. Check this out. paulbegleyprophecy.com. If you go to paulbegleyprophecy.com, you take your cursor, you hit the donate button here or the home page about the prayer center or Paul Begley TV. You click there, it takes you here. Go to the view exclusive content over here. You click it, you're there. Okay, there I am. I'm live right now. Okay? And if I hit that, I'm live. It's almost, well, let me just see. So I'm just about 30 seconds behind. So there it is. It's that easy. And oh, by the way, it actually comes in clear as a bell if you want to watch it at paulbegleyprophecy.com. We had to spend a lot of money to set this up to make it accessible because we knew the days of censorship were coming. And I got to get all 354,000 of you used to going to paulbegleyprophecy.com to protect you, because I know what's going to happen. And if that day, unfortunately, should happen, people are going to be scrambling. Where do you find Paul Begley? I don't know. I can't find nothing. It's just you don't want that day to come. Anyway, after Thursday night when we got knocked off the air, it would have been nice to have been able to had a heads up and prepared people for that. So anyway, Mike from around the world is going to join us any time. And actually, I'm sitting there looking at the YouTube one, and I look at Paul Begley Prophecy, and actually the Paul Begley Prophecy one is more clear. Check this out. I'll show you. That's the Paul Begley Prophecy one. That's YouTube. YouTube's a little fuzzy. Fuzzy-wuzzy. But at my website, it's clear as a bell. And it also sounds good. Here's what it does. This is just because there's 1,400 people here. I would hate for someone to miss what we're about to say. So there you see it. So just prepare yourself for that in case we have to have the option. And that's why our channel. The only sad thing is that I don't have a chat room over there. But I will put one in, okay, if we ever have to go down that path for permanently. Anyway, Mike around the world is going to join us any second. Any second. His information is urgent. It is breaking news. And as we're waiting for his special report tonight, it's unbelievable that Kim Jong-un has fired an intercontinental ballistic missile toward the east into the ocean. It has a long-range capability of reaching the United States, and it can carry a nuclear payload. Was this a threat to the West? Yes. And it happened the exact same hour. The United States, the United Kingdom, the European Union nations, and Canada all announced they're cutting Russia off from the SWIFT banking network, which is huge. It's gigantic in Russia's ability to do commerce. It's huge. And so we're waiting to find out what this all means. Kim Jong-un, meanwhile, President Zelensky, reports are he has fled Kiev into the other city of Lvov. But that is conflicting. I don't know if he has or not, to be honest. Here we go. Hang on one second here. Let's get Mike on the phone here. Mike from around the world, are you there? Okay, wait a minute. Maybe not. Nope, we lost him. Oh, that's interesting. We can't even get him on the connection. Mike, you got to try again. We'll wait for Mike to rejoin us. So just, here we go. Mike, hang on one second. We'll get you plugged in here to the main board. And there. Mike from around the world, are you with us?
God bless you, Pastor Paul. Right here, I finally made it.
I finally made it.
Again.
We're doing it. Boy, they're attacking us before you can even get on the air. Mike, just so you know, just so everyone will know, we have a backup system. We're simulcasting this on YouTube and at my website at paulbegleyprophecy.com. If for some reason YouTube goes down, folks, we'll still be live over at paulbegleyprophecy.com. Okay? Mike, yeah, you know, Mike, you told me 8 years ago we have to prepare ourselves for the inevitable as far as censorship. And we're living in this time now, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big time. And more of that on the way as this conflict really exposes some of the cracks in both Russia and NATO. It's really exposing some things, and how we go forward. Well, that's going to be anybody's question on that. I would say it's going to be rough waters for a little while. But, and things are escalating, Pastor Paul.
Tell us about that. Things are escalating since Thursday night. Now, do we have some breaking information for us tonight?
Yeah, Putin, Russia, has been holding back quite a bit. I would estimate that Russia has given about possibly 5 to 6% of their strength. They're really holding back. One of the issues is he already warned them about the banking institutions. He already warned them about that.
Yep.
And some other ordeals, some other things that they're also blocking. NATO is building up its forces. Even tonight, we have deployments on the way for NATO to strengthen up some of the gaps there. Turkey has taken the lead in some of the more visible stances against Russia, which will not bode well. But NATO is going to be forced into making some bolder moves. This war in the Ukraine, the way it's going, there is nobody can reach that point of negotiation, right? They've tried multiple times, they can't do it. And so as these sanctions go out, meant to deter Putin from, doing anything worse, or to certainly show the people that they're doing something about what he is doing, because they can't sit idle. The sad truth is, he's still going to continue to go forward. To this point, I'm very thankful that there's a low count of civilian casualties, but the soldier deaths, they mount up in the thousands already. And then we have, of course, the casualties from casualties of war from shrapnel and aircraft parts hitting buildings. But Putin is very reserved right now. As NATO makes their move, Pastor Paul, Putin has already countered. Putin has set up hypersonics. He's now moving hypersonic technology on the field.
Wow.
Now, that was a no-no. That was a big no-no. Even for, it doesn't matter who it is, that's a big no-no. He uses those are air-launched hypersonics. He has ready to go. He also has brand new tactical nukes mounted on SU class fighters that are in that airfield. They've been there now for about 6 days, and 2 of them have been on patrol. I suspect he's doing this to keep other aircraft out of the area.
So let me just try to double check and understand. You're saying Putin has put hypersonic missiles on the move, out on the field, and these can be launched from an aircraft in the air. Am I right?
Yeah, they are on the move. Hypersonics are on the move.
Okay, now you're also saying he's put 2 tactical nukes out there on the move, ready to be used if needed?
He's got full pods on his aircraft, and they're ready to go if needed. When he said that if anybody intervened, he would basically do something that nobody has ever done before. He wasn't kidding.
But nobody
ready to back up exactly what he's saying.
But was he just referring to troops from anybody in NATO, or was this banking move with SWIFT cutting him off from the SWIFT banking system?
He meant anything, and SWIFT would be part of it, because he meant anything that deters him from meeting his objective, anything that slows him down. He will not hesitate but to eliminate that issue, right? And so they have to. They're in a, that's a bit of a problem they're in, because they don't know his mentality at this point. He has fooled a lot of people up to this point. And meaning they can't predict him. They cannot do that. So he's not someone who would make a threat and then not do it. That's not who he is. And in fact, he wouldn't even make a threat unless he absolutely was already prepared to back it up. And there's no way we can take out some of his comm vectors to interrupt any launches like that. So that's out of the question. He's got space covered too, which is why you see China also making moves, right? They're taking somewhat of a very aggressive posture as far as their military stance right now as we speak.
Did the North Korea fired a missile within the hour? If I understand, it's a ballistic missile. I have one report says it's an intercontinental ballistic missile that he fired high in the air and then dropped it into the ocean. Those are capable to carry nuclear payloads, but I don't have that confirmed. Did he? I know he fired a missile, but did he fire an intercontinental ballistic missile?
I believe that was one of his that was a medium class ICBM.
Okay.
The vehicle was launched, and he's doing that because of China, right? Whenever China starts making any type of military adjustments, North Korea then gets into the picture somehow. They do whatever they want to do, knowing that they're not going to have, as we deal with Russia, we're not going to be able to do too much against North Korea. And by the way, North Korea is not to be played with. Remember, they have the largest stockpile of chemical weapons on planet Earth. So keep that in mind.
Okay, okay. More than Russia?
Much more than Russia, much more. North Korea has the largest amount of chemical weapons on this planet.
Mike, who are the, could you help us take a deep breath here? When you say two things, I'm going to ask you about the Chechens in a minute, but first of all, China. You said China is making some moves. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Normally, when China will adjust their military based on international incidences, but not in mass like they're doing now. By satellite, it's very easy to see a buildup of troops and ships in certain regions. Of course, our Navy, in coordination with NATO, does lots of patrols in the oceans, and even they have noted more activity naval-wise. So there's certainly, as Russia's in this problem, Russia is not only an ally, but they're also a dependency upon Russia to continue, or China to continue to exist. If something happens to Russia, China will be hurt. They're going to be hurt. All their trade is interlocked, right? So if Russia were to cease to exist, or somebody else controlled Russian assets, China would instantly receive a blow. And so they're going to protect their interests, right? Now, would it cripple China to the point where they could not function? No, but it would long term. It could cause a severe collapse of China. Given time, they would have no choice at that point but to by force, for the sake of survival, to take something. Which brings up this other point. Obviously, Putin has changed a few weeks ago, and he's being backed into a corner. They're not giving Putin an exit. Have you noticed?
Yes, I noticed that. He has no way out. Where does he go?
He has to maintain his posture with his own people, or his people will turn against him.
Yep,
right?
Yep.
So he cannot back down from what he's doing. Dealing with Russian counterparts, he is likely waiting on someone to stay his hand, meaning he's waiting on someone to come with a counterbalancing method that will allow him to keep his position of power by way of the people, and to work out some sort of international deal, right? But of course, NATO is not going to do that, because they're not going to humble themselves so that he can continue to lead his people. But what a lot of people understand on the inside is this: if people think Putin is bad by any measure, they have no idea what sits underneath him. There are sharks underneath Putin that he keeps tamed. And if something ever happens to Putin, you better believe it'll not be 106 hours before these sharks come out and launch a massive assault on everybody. These guys are ludicrous. These guys are gone.
So you're saying if somebody in the Kremlin decides to assassinate Putin, we may have worse pit bulls coming loose.
That's an absolute. That's guaranteed. That's guaranteed.
So
Putin is the only reason they're kept at bay, because of his position of strength, right? And he's interconnected Moscow in such a way that if anybody tries to lean his way or put pressure on him, he can easily do away with that. But if he were out of the way, it would be anarchy in Moscow very quickly. In fact, that's when the world would see Iran make a move they never thought possible, and all that firepower in Russia could easily fall into the hands of the Middle East very quickly.
Wow!
CNC, command and control, is they set up the Middle East when Russia went to the Middle East. He set it up in such a way that command and control can easily be shifted to the Middle East. Do you know that? That
No.
means the entirety of the army could be controlled from the Middle East.
Who? Iran?
It's set up that way.
Who?
The entirety of Russia's army can be controlled from the Middle East. It in the Middle East, when he went to Syria, he set up a redundant CNC post there, which is why it took so long. And he just finished setting up his naval CNC there, so command and control, so that could easily become the centralized control point for the entirety of Russia's armaments. There's some multiple changes that have taken place that really shift the dynamic of power in the Middle East that a lot of people are just simply they're not aware of yet. Not
Mike,
yet.
let me ask you
But
another question. Where's Zelensky tonight? Is he in Kiev? Is he in a different city? Have we given him free passage maybe to another
he
city?
wants to fight, but
Right.
he wants his family safe. He
Right.
didn't want his family to fight, and so in order to get his family to safety, they require an escort. He's going to have to see them to safety, but he wants to come back and fight, which, in my opinion, is not wise. It's noble, right? But it's not wise. They're going to need leadership, right? And
Right.
him dying, he's target number one. His family, as he said, was target number two. And if they lose him, they just lost a lot of momentum. And
Yeah.
so,
So they've got
you
to.
know,
So it's very possible that he has, and the rumors are that he has moved from Kiev over to that city at the LVOV, I don't know, Lvov, and he probably has. He's no doubt in a secured location. I would think that special ops of the United States are probably helped assist in this safe passage. I'm not going to ask
and
you to confirm that, but I'm just saying that's some of the words I'm getting. So
it's good to keep it a rumor too.
Yeah, we'll just keep it a rumor.
If it's a rumor, the Russians are not sure. And
Yeah,
so
we'll keep it a rumor.
we don't want them finding out
We'll
that
keep it
stuff.
Another question, though. Here's the other one, and that is tonight. If Biden's in bed tonight, who's watching this whole thing? I mean,
Oh, everybody's. I tell you, Pastor Paul, you wouldn't believe. It's one day we're going to have to just let the cat out the bag. What people see on television
Yeah.
is one thing. All right, that's one thing. That's not how it is behind the scenes.
okay,
Technology has gone a long way, and surveilling someone is incredibly easy these days. People have forgotten about the NSA about 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And what they could do then. Imagine what they can do now, right?
Yeah.
They can read the hairs on a net from space if he fell on the ground, so they can do that.
right.
They
So
can do
don't.
that.
So it's okay if the president goes to bed at 8 o'clock. And don't worry, we got
Well,
eyes in the sky.
we have a full automated defense net. Let me describe part of our defense net
Okay.
for the USA. It's always been automated. Of course, it's been updated. And you know what that means? For something to get through that defense net, somebody has to physically turn it off or allow something to get through.
Wow.
Just like 9/11. Now, we had that same defense net in 9/11. Someone had to physically allow those aircraft, which were in a zone they shouldn't have been in,
Wow.
to come through, right?
Yeah.
That's how anybody who understands the Patriot missile system, it was one of the first systems that utilized that automated triangulation system, which means no one has to stand there. No one has to be there. As soon as it detects an incoming target, it will identify that target and it will shoot it down unless it receives an interrupt order. Otherwise, it's automated. So it's going to go ahead and shoot down everything that breaches its airspace by itself, unless somebody turns it off. So we're good to go in that perspective. We can trust some of the individuals over here, but Russia has the same thing. Russia could easily take down all aircraft that fly in that airspace. They really could.
Are they in control? Is Russia in control of the airspace over Ukraine?
Russia has bombardment aerial coverage, meaning his radar system can disrupt any aircraft all by its lonesome, sending out these microwave bursts, which would actually disrupt any craft he desired to. That's why I'm saying he's using great restraint. He could do away with any aerial craft that would ever come close to him. And I believe what he's doing for the sake of his own people, Now, this is my opinion. This is not fact. I'm just giving you my opinion. I think that he's using restraint to gain that leadership posture for his people, because all of the people of Russia, they are not for this attack. They're just simply not. Um, but what he's doing is he's doing it systematically. He's going after military targets. He's using great restraint so that the people of Russia say, hey, he's fair. He's operating fair and
Right,
everybody else is corrupt. It's the old, propaganda thing. But, Pastor, the truth is, in my opinion, war is evil, period. I can't stand
right,
war.
right.
Nevertheless, this war is jumping quickly to the Middle East, quickly because of
Wow.
Turkey.
Because of Turkey. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, Turkey's from day one, Turkey was on the radio. Turkey was calling leaders. Turkey did get involved. They got involved early in this thing. So Turkey already did something militarily the first night, right? The first night. And so they have been involved in a clandestine way. Well, not so clandestine to the, some of the inner circles, but
Right.
they've already been involved. Now, but the problem is, can they maintain that posture and still have some of the support that they have in the Middle East? You know what the answer is? It's going to be no. Because here's what we can see happening. As this continues, as NATO launches its financial punishment against Russia, it's going to start causing Middle Eastern allies to suffer in very strange ways. Terrorists are going to go crazy in the Middle East. They're what I call bottom feeders. They're going to come out to woodwork. They're going to do great damage to places. For example, they're promoting the UAE, correct? They're also promoting Saudi Arabia, correct?
Yep.
And Saudi Arabia begged everybody for weapons before this ever began, because they have pretty good foresight as far as unveiling situations around the world. They were begging for weapons because they understand what's about to happen with Iran. Iran, behind the scenes, has been notifying all of its subsidiaries that they're about to make a move. Israel is wise to this, right? They know about this.
Yep.
And this is why you have 4 airborne brigades, entire brigades of Israel, who have been training tirelessly for a ground campaign. The Air
Wow.
Force has been training tirelessly for an air campaign, and Jordan has added to its special forces because they understand also what's coming. And they know they don't have time. They don't have a lot
Are
of
they
time for this.
preparing for an invasion, or let's say an attack from Iran, and from Russia, both?
If Iran attacks, Pascal, it's going to come from all directions.
Yeah.
You got to
Turkey.
understand that.
What about
Iran
Turkey?
has Israel covered, north, south, east, and west.
Yeah, and so does and that includes Russia, Hezbollah, maybe
And
maybe
Hezbollah is not what they used to be. Hezbollah is more modernized now
yeah.
within the last, I'd say within the last 6 months than they've ever been before.
All
These
right.
guys have been reserving some of their more structured. And this is what Israel found out, right, through the Mossad, that Hezbollah is highly organized. And what Hezbollah has been doing is trying to fool everybody, so everybody would think they're kind of like some Palestinian leftovers or something like that. That's not what they are. These guys are Iranian all the way. They're an organized unit, and their command and control goes all the way back to Iran. Iran's not ashamed of that now. Why? Because they have enough materials. Iran has assembled some things, which everybody's going to leave Iran alone because their math was so far off it wasn't funny. And I believe it was here on your show that we said something that happened. I'm not going to say it again, but something happened
Yep.
back in the 40s and the 50s.
Yep.
Iran, they have these. They had the launch vehicles. They had the command and control to it. It's just been there. It's been maintained. It's been replicated. And of course, with this enriched uranium ploy that everybody's been using, right? If
Yep.
people understood the process, they would say, well, wait a minute. They should have done this already. In
Yep.
enriching uranium,
Yep.
first of all, it has to be in a gaseous form. They separate it from something called tails. One part becomes depleted uranium. The other part has that high count isotopes. This could have been accomplished by them 20 years ago,
Wow.
right?
Okay. Yes.
But we're here today, and no one has intervened. No
Yes.
one has intervened.
Question.
And
Question, Mike.
go ahead.
Defcon. Did we come? Did we get close to one yesterday?
We're gonna have a. Um,
You can't say.
it's gonna sway. It's gonna sway. Let's hope it does not hit, because no one will mistake if it's toggling near that one point, because in the American skies, everybody's going to hear every type of aircraft, military aircraft they ever thought that we had, plus some they don't think we have, um, because that will be, something big there. I
If
suspect, however, you know, past balls suspect that at some point, because we have hypersonics in the field, we have lasers in the field. The Navy is now they're preparing themselves. A few navies are preparing themselves for missile bombardments. That means somebody's going to sink a ship. And what that should tell everybody is NATO is about to do something that could certainly provoke Russia into going to a much higher level of combat. Right? Since cooler heads are not prevailing, they've got to tranquilize the beast, basically. Um, Will that work? I don't think so, not according to the Word of God. And I can't help but to keep reverting back to the old book of Zechariah.
right.
I get stuck on Zechariah chapter 5 over and over again because I cannot believe the measurements used there correctly match what we have today. And that
Wow.
blows me away. That,
Wow.
that really does. That blows me away.
Yep.
Um,
All
but
right.
then we have that arsenal in effect. Right now, we have that arsenal, and it's starting to really show itself.
Why
So,
did Russia wanted to get their hands on Chernobyl, and they got it? Why?
Pastor, there are secrets in the USSR stemming back from World War II and before that. Um, you know what? And I'm sure that somebody's going to come out with it, because some things happened in the 20s with both Germany and Russia that were quite notable. Now, I don't know if everybody's mature enough to handle it, but let's just say that it goes right back to the fallen, right? And it also has to do. Russia is the place. It's a some sort of defense network that has been here for a long time. It's in the radioactive parts of Russia, right? The domes are there. Humanity cannot build domes that big. Anytime there's any asteroid or anything that would ever try to hit Russia, it'll never work. It'll never work. Do you know why? Because
No.
that entire land goes active every time there's a close call. NASA has taken pictures of this so many times it's not funny. Some high particle beam or whatever it is will shoot up from the Earth right out into space, and there we are. This has happened since they have sent when they sent probes into space. They picked it up by radio signature. People have seen it, but if you go out there, you're going to die from the radiation. This place is radioactive, and
Well, the
yeah,
Russians
they're
have taken it.
they're just not going to get that out.
The Russians sent their soldiers in there. They're in possession of Chernobyl. I mean, they did that before they even rushed
Yeah.
toward
Now they can stay there for a little while. Radiation is cumulative, which means
Okay.
you can get a bunch of soldiers who have not been there before. You can send them in there. They can stay there for some days, and whatever the case is. But as far as someone living there, no, you can't do it. They have mutated animals over there that will scare you,
Yeah.
right? Just flat out
So you're
scare you.
saying there is some secrets and some power there that we're not aware
Oh
of.
yeah, in with Chernobyl, Chernobyl was utilized. Part of Chernobyl with the power system, right, was powering something under the earth. Part of you had to remember back in World War II, Germany was building all these underground structures, but so was Russia, right?
Yep.
Russia and Germany were the leading forces as far as technology were concerned. They were, and Germany being atop them. So they had underground facilities. It's a lot of ancient knowledge and everything else in those places. But also Russia built an arsenal of weapons that is unbelievable, still underneath the earth in those areas. They're not going to
Wow,
give
that's
that
what I
up.
heard. That
They're
there's like
just not going to
it's
give that
like
up.
3 major underground bases that are
Yeah,
there.
they're not going to give that up. That's a
Yeah,
lot of. Can you imagine? That's a lot of money. They have an
yeah.
entire dwelling place down there
So that's
that they
kind of
had
why they feel
finished.
like Ukraine is theirs because I mean, yeah, it once was, and it also they got some things that they've invested in that they got to get their hands back on.
You bet.
Okay, now let me
They're
ask
not
you
going to
this
lose that.
question, Mike. SWIFT. Now that the United States, the European Union, the UK, Canada, these guys have all are shutting Russia out of the SWIFT banking system. Select banks, but they're the big ones. How much impact is this going to be on Russia?
Well, it's not all immediate. In fact, I may be
Right.
wrong on this. I may be wrong on the numbers a bit, but I believe it's 168 leaders have agreed to block Russia.
Oh
All
my
right, they
Lord.
have agreed to block Russia with SWIFT, and they had to do this because some of the other countries use it. For example, Germany. Suppose they shut down the funds to Russia, but they still need oil from Russia,
Right.
right? Okay, now because they blocked Russia with SWIFT, which by the way is going to be minor, slow, it's not going to be immediate. If
Right.
they do anything immediate, we're not even set up to take care of ourselves. We still need things from Russia, which is why. So it's this is a weird
Is
situation,
this more of a formality than it is a reality?
right now. It will, in the long term, it will begin to consume resources, and
Okay.
it's going to make everybody think about. They don't want Putin putting a bunch of money into the army. This is the
No.
major goal.
I see.
That's the major goal. They don't want Putin putting a bunch of money into military development. Unfortunately, that's going to take months, if not years, to
Yeah.
actually take place. Right.
But
So
and
we
it
have
may
to.
take years to get it back online once they
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Well, people have to see this realistically.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt him tonight. It's not going to hurt him
Right.
tomorrow. It's not going to hurt him the next day. He's going to stay in operation. He's still, he has this whatever funding he needs. China and Iran will have no. That's why we passed sanctions on Iran. It didn't do anything. Uh, we had
Right.
sanctions on Russia before these sanctions from Crimea. It didn't do anything. Right? They
Right.
have been begging us for anything. And so Russia is still surviving.
I wonder
Why?
if it'll hurt
Because
us more than it'll hurt them.
well, and you know what? That's part of the problem because I can already see that if they push Putin too far, he's going to cut the oil off from going to Germany.
Yeah, he
Then what are
will.
they going to do? What are they going to do? They're going to start crying. Then
Yep.
he'll disrupt Georgia. Then he'll start disrupting other things because he has his hands on the valve in Syria and some other places in the Middle East. He can effectively cut some things off if he desires to. So they don't have a lot of work to work with. That's why war. It's either going to be somebody's going to have to sit down and talk this thing through, Pastor Paul, or it's going to go to a level none of us are ready for. And we're not talking about months.
I know.
This is going to have to be a very quick resolution of some type because we only have a few days before the point of no return is reached.
So, no question that Putin has now pulled out the hypersonic missiles. He's pulled out the tactical nukes. He's getting ready to get them all online, if he doesn't already. I mean online, I mean hot and ready to go. Who are the Chechens? Remind us who these guys are, and are they pro Putin or against Putin?
Well, no, no. I wouldn't even say they're for Putin. I wouldn't say that at all. It's certainly not in this case. There's a change, Pastor Paul, in the historical support system of Russia itself. There's a huge change, right?
Okay.
If you notice right now, some of the folks in the Russian army, they don't want to contest it out loud, but they're not for this attack in the Ukraine. But then you have some folks in the Russian army who are loyalists of other countries. You know this, right?
Right.
So there's a bit of a breakdown there happening. But then there are some who are severely aggressive. But the Czech wars, as they were called, as they took place a long time ago at first, it was infiltrated by a lot of Russians that were of the old Russia, right? As it turns out, though, there was a separation between the people. Its control mechanism was split between Russia and an independent people. And now they're more of an independent people who don't really agree with everything Russia is doing. So That's a good question, because it brings up things that people assume Russia and all of its provinces are the same way that they've been for many years. That's not the truth.
No.
Many things have changed. Many things have altered. People are different. Um, and people basically want to get on with their lives. They're not into this war stuff. That those are the leaders of NATO and of course Russia and some other countries, but the people don't want it. They just
Is
don't want it.
is is Putin? So what you're saying is, because the media right now is making it sound like that the Ukrainian people are maybe even winning this thing a little bit, and that they have staved off the bear, and that they're and I'm not saying they're not doing heroics there. I'm not saying that the Ukrainian military isn't doing some heroics and are fighting with everything they got, and they're very brave, and so are the civilians, and so is President Zelensky. But you're saying that Putin's really only showed about 5 or 6% of his hand, and if he wants to, he can crush them. It's just that he doesn't want to destroy the place. He wants to own the place.
That's right.
So
he does not want it to. That's why he hasn't touched the city yet.
Yeah.
If you notice, the city
Yeah.
is on. There are a lot of places in the Ukraine that are untouched, and what he's been doing is taking out military targets.
Yeah.
And places of opposition where soldiers are concentrated. He didn't want to go around killing everybody. That's not. He's very calculated.
Yeah, he
in
don't
what
want to
does.
destroy the infrastructure.
No, he doesn't.
But
He doesn't.
is there a point where he starts to sweat and say, "Hey, my guys are out there too long now. This is taking longer than I thought. I thought we could take care of using all the old equipment and knock them out. I'm going to have to bring out the better stuff and finish these guys off." You see that coming?
Well, if you go back to Crimea, right?
Okay.
Remember Crimea?
Yep.
He was methodical. And what
Very,
he did,
very much so.
he took his time. And for the last 8 years, he's been at war with
Yeah, he
Ukraine,
has.
taking bits and pieces out of him, gaining. He's not moved. He's not really moved. His anger is coming from NATO,
Yeah.
who's causing, because see, he was on this slow pace to gain everything in the Ukraine without a lot of international drama. That's what he's upset about, probably. And then, of course, everybody picks up on it, and they promote it. Now it's it's item number one on everybody's list, and he's not very happy about that. Now they put him into a bad position.
He has no jumping off place here. The way I see it, he has
No,
nowhere.
no.
The world won't give him any room to wiggle out
No.
of this, does they?
No. So he has to maintain that posture.
That's
of strength
dangerous.
for his
That's
own
when it's
people.
dangerous,
Yeah, it
when a
is.
guy doesn't
You
have
have to
nothing to lose.
You have to give a guy an exit.
That's
you have
right.
to give a guy an exit.
Because
Or-
if you don't give him an exit, he has like, okay, the whole world's done with me now. They've put me in the same category with Mussolini and Hitler. So what do I got to lose? If these dudes keep
That's
messing with me, I'll just go ahead and trip the big nuke. I'll show them.
That's
I mean,
it.
you can't put a guy in that position, right?
No, and the safety mechanisms on the nuclear warheads in Russia are not like the U.S. They're not. No one person can launch nuclear weapons in the U.S.
Right.
They just can't. If the president wanted to, he could not do it. But Russia's not like that.
No.
Russia's just not like that. And so, we're in those days. And Fastball, have you, in Zechariah 5,
Yes.
have you ever looked at Zechariah 5 with the weight of memeasurements that were used, and then
No,
kinda
not
got
with
nosy behind our nuclear weapons?
No, let's look at that. Let's go to Zechariah 5, and because of course, when you get into nuclear calculations, I get lost real fast. But let's look at it, because you're looking at it from a pure capability of what it would do. And that you're saying that nuclear part is in Zechariah 5. So let me read here. It says, "Then I turned and lifted up my eyes, and behold, a flying roll. He said to me, 'What seest thou?' I answered, I said, 'I see a flying roll. The length whereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof is 10 cubits. So that would be like, 30 foot long and 15 feet wide. Okay?
Or 30 and when I broke down those calculations,
Yeah.
Fastball, that came out to 30 point. According to the Hebrew, that was 34.3 feet long, 5.5 feet wide.
Okay.
That's the exact ratio of an ICBM launch vehicle.
Wow.
Exact ratio.
Okay, so he sees this flying ICBM missile, probably nuclear warhead on it. And then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that's the whole earth, the whole world is now under nuclear threat tonight, that's for sure. For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on the side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts. It shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name. And it shall remain in the midst of this house, of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof.
That part, Pastor Paul.
Okay.
That part right there. Okay. This flying, notice he didn't say scroll. He said
he said roll. A roll. Right.
A roll. And in the Hebrew, that's Megillah. In the Hebrew, that's Megillah. And a Megillah is a roll, right? It is, in fact, a roll. Then, of course, the measurements he gives, but he's about to talk about something else. But he's giving us, Zechariah knows what a roll looks like.
Right.
He knows what a scroll looks like.
Right.
But he's fascinated by seeing something, a scroll. He didn't, it's almost like he's having problems defining what this thing is. What is this thing? Because it comes up again. He's like, I don't know what this is. You tell me what this thing is.
Right.
Now, surely he's seen a scroll and a roll, right?
Yep.
Surely he has. But here we have the dimensions. We have the word Megillah used as a roll. Megillah means, in the Hebrew, that word is in fact roll. The NIV uses deviants of that word, but you take it back to the original Hebrew, that is roll.
Yeah.
The measurements are in the ratio of an ICBM.
Right?
Wow. Then he's about to say it stays in the house and it consumes the brick and it consumes the wood.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, it does.
So something, it's almost like something ignited in the house of a thief is in the land. In the house of a thief is always in the land of impact, or the land that God's anger is against. And so in that area where all these thieves and liars and those who swear falsely is going to be ate up. And it goes across the face of the whole earth. And then when you continue to read, it gets to these specific parts about a woman. Right?
And it also says it's the weight of lead upon the mouth there. Read us what it said. It said, and what is it? He said, this is an ephod that goeth forth. He said, moreover, this is their resemblance through all earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead. This is a woman that sitteth on the midst of the ephod. Tell us about that. Now, you
see that right there, Pastor Paul. Yeah. This is a woman that sits in the midst of the ephod. I can imagine them a long time ago, the translators saying, well, this is a piece of lead sitting in the midst of a 40-liter container. That just doesn't sound right, because an ephah, right, is in the Hebrew is a receptacle for measuring.
It's a container. Yes, it's a container.
Right. So a lot of people call it basket or whatever the case is, but come to find out through Hebrew search, it holds about 40 liters. And this lead, uranium-235, looks just like lead. Just like lead. I'm sure that Zechariah probably would not really recognize what he's seeing, because he said, what is this? And Zechariah is trying to describe what he's seeing. So he's having a problem identifying a roll. He should know what one looks like.
Right, he knows. Yep.
But he doesn't. Not this one.
Not this roll.
And this thing, he's giving, it's almost like he's talking about the triggering mechanism of a thermonuclear warhead.
Yep. And think about this. He sees a 34-foot missile, a roll. To him, it's a big roll flying through the air. I mean, think about that. 3,000 years ago, you see that, you're like, what is that? Are you serious? What is that? And he knows that it's made of lead. It's in a type of container that he calls an ephod-looking thing, and it's heavy. Okay, it's heavy. And then he said, I lifted my eyes, I looked, and behold, there came out two women. The wind was in their wings. In their wings. In their wings.
And you know what women is, right? That word women.
Okay.
Oh, this will blow you away.
Tell us.
This will mess you up. Woman in the Hebrew is an Isha, right? Isha.
Okay, yes, that's true.
That word Isha was used in other contexts of the Bible as meaning, it either means, it is talking about the feminine based on the context But in this context specifically, there was a character denoted in that scroll, which makes it not a woman, but a wicked fiery offering. A wicked fiery offering is what Isha is. This Isha, this woman. But they wouldn't have understood this back in the day. How could they wouldn't have understood it.
No,
So
they
he's
can't.
got
No.
now if you take that word wicked fiery offering or fire offering and you use that instead of woman, you're going to see exactly what I'm saying, because in the Hebrew, that's precisely what it is. Even the characters present in the original scroll concerning that.
Yeah. Wow. So he sees a nuclear attack, at least 2 nuclear warheads hitting.
He saw, let me read this one piece. He said, you read about the talent parts. He
Yep.
said, and this woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah, right? That ephah, this receptacle, the woman, this fiery offering that sits in the midst of the ephah. And he said, this is wickedness. This is wickedness.
Yes.
Now, a woman sitting in the basket, that's not wickedness.
No.
But now a fiery offering sit in the midst of a container
That's
that's
bad.
about to do something is wickedness. And he said, this woman that sits in the midst of the ephah. And after he said it was wickedness, he said, and he cast it into the midst of the ephah, into that container, that lead thing. He cast into the midst of the ephah. And he cast the weight of lead upon the mouth thereof.
Yeah.
That's a firing mechanism. When you fire U-235 into that radioactive material, that's what ignites a nuclear warhead, right? We're not talking about Hiroshima's weapon. We're talking about the ones we have today.
No, you're talking about
which blows me away, because Hiroshima had a different firing mechanism.
So
right?
this is about. So this is talking about modern technology.
That's right. It's covering. It's even covering the. He's looking down into this thing. He didn't know what's happening, but. And then it goes, it's even worse than that, because he said he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there came out 2 women, or 2 fiery offerings.
Right.
And the wind was in the wings. Most aircraft have what?
Wings.
2 jets.
Yes.
2 jets. All the aircraft that carry nuclear weapons are driven by jets with 2 fires coming out, 2 wicked fires coming out. And he says, look at this. He says, it was in the wings, for they had wings like the wings of a stork. And they lifted up the ephah between the earth and in the heaven. So it's almost like he's describing a jet aircraft
carrying carrying missiles.
A weapon.
Yeah, carrying missiles.
Isn't that something?
With the wings like a stork, which would go like this. So he's seeing a nuclear warheads being carried on the wings of jets with the ability to bring wicked fire upon the earth. He sees this in Zechariah 5. And certainly, I mean, if
he even gives the reason.
Yeah, and look at this. Yeah, he even tells you the reason that it's going to happen. Thing is, folks, if you're listening right now and you say, well, I just don't know if the Bible's true, or, I'm not so sure I'm into prophecy. What are you going to do with this?
Are you kidding? The ratios really get me.
Yeah.
The lead gets me, because that's the firing mechanism. The description, when you take it back to the Hebrew, and you're talking about this fiery offering, and then you're talking about the Megillah, this container, and the lead going into the container, igniting this thing, and it's wicked, and it consumes the wood and the stones, and it stays there. That you can't make that up. You can't even make that fit into anything rational.
No,
you can't do it.
It shows you that the prophecies of the Bible are coming to pass right now. We're living in these last days right now. And so, Mike, can we ask you this, and we'll let you go. If I have some information that there's a threat potentially for New York, is there any credibility that...
Yes. Because it was happening right now, and because of the aircraft involved.
Okay.
The East Coast defense net is at 100%.
East Coast?
The East Coast defense net's at 100%.
In other words, we're on high alert.
The West Coast defense net's at 100%. Everything's being monitored closely, and everybody's working overtime, because nobody knows at this point the pulse of or the future happenings of Putin, or what he could potentially do. And there's bound to be, this is my biggest concern, there's bound to be some type of dissension within the ranks of the Russian army.
Absolutely.
Somebody's going to do something they're not authorized to do, Pastor Paul, and something's going to begin by that. Most wars, most tragic happenings, believe it or not, when you go back historically, they were not purposed. They were mistakes, or they were somebody that was overzealous and was the leadership covered for that person. So you have a lot of people who are quite zealous for their countries in these days, right? If somebody took away Texas, everybody in America would say, no way that's going to happen, right? We would not wait for leadership. Well, in Russia, because some of the people in Russia view the Ukraine as these horrible people who were torturing Russians, who were killing their babies and everything else, you're bound to have somebody who's going to think a bit differently than everybody else. They're potentially in a command position, and they may do something on their own. This is one of the biggest fears right now. And they have the capability of striking the East Coast. Remember, they have their Navy just like ours.
Yep.
We chase their shadows all over the ocean, which are their submarines, and their submarines have lost capability. We don't know where all their subs are all the time. Neither do they know where all of ours are all the time. Different types of stealth are being used underneath the water. They do travel in cavity bubbles, so that means it's classified how fast a submarine can actually go. Don't think for a minute they're slow. They're going just at 42 knots or 50 knots. Don't think that.
There's
new
no way,
underwater
Mike.
technology also.
There's no way. There can be no such thing. Tell me if I'm wrong. Of a preemptive strike in this situation by anybody. Am I right?
Well, no, unless I don't think anybody would do that purposely. I think that you could have rogue elements within an army or something like that that could do something stupid. Now, thank God, unless they are, some genius with all the computer systems surrounding nuclear weapons, they can't launch one of those. But we have weapons worse. We have alternate weapons to nuclear, Pascal. We have weapons that can be released and do the damage of a nuclear weapon without the radiation. Right? We have that.
That's pretty.
We also have
incredible.
weapons that can cause massive earthquakes that can crack the earth. We have earth crackers. So.
And tsunamis. We can create
tsunamis. Real foolish.
We can create tsunamis too, can't we?
Yes, with about a 1,500-foot wall of water. They're very powerful weapons. Yeah,
yeah,
they can do that. They know where the fault lines are. That's what the USGS is for in all countries. They study these fractured lines of the earth. In the event of something terrible, they will utilize what they know by science to evoke or to cause rumblings in the earth. China did this before by accident. Everybody caught on, and then they, came up with a brilliant way to actually do this for real. So there we are.
Mike, I appreciate this very much. We know that now that the United States, the United Kingdom, European Union, Canada has decided to remove Russia from SWIFT banking system. As you said, it's not just those groups. It's 168 countries that have agreed to do this. But it's not done overnight. It's a process.
No.
It may hurt the Americans and the Europeans more than it may hurt Russia because of Russia's relationships with Iran and China. We'll see. But the bottom line is everything is ratcheting up, and Putin has no jumping off place. I keep asking myself, where can this guy jump off and save face with his country, with the world? There's nowhere for him to jump. He has to go. He's hell bent on this, or blow the world up. I mean, really, we're in a very dangerous time, and it's actually matching Bible prophecy. And I'm with you, Mike. Even though North Korea fired a missile today because Kim Jong-un is bored, or whatever, or maybe he's trying to deflect. We have a situation right now, as you've just laid out for us brilliantly tonight, that unless cooler heads can somehow prevail, the world is destined for some type of tactical nuke ignition. Do you think that somebody's going to absolutely not push maybe the biggest bombs, but do something really, really bad, blow a battleship out of the air,
they really could, Pastor Paul. Because such high tensions, people argue that people are killing each other over the smallest things, right?
Yep.
So you have some of these folks are in command and control of armies, and they have their commanders who get locked up just about every single year
Yeah.
for things like that. So it's when you're in a wartime situation, accidents happen,
Yeah.
things happen,
Yeah.
and this is a very tense time.
So there you
But
go.
I tell you what, I'm glad that my heart is with the UK and Germany right now because they are most vulnerable.
Yes, they
are
are.
most vulnerable.
Yes, they are.
And so I'm going to keep those guys in
Yeah,
prayer.
please do that.
Pastor
Amen.
Paul, and Chile and Haiti, I don't know if I told you this or not,
No.
but well, they got a monster about to come up from the ocean. I'm not talking about some creature either, right? I'm talking about the earth is making some
Right.
massive
Talk
geological
about that
changes
rift
right
in the
underneath
Atlantic
them.
Ocean.
Yep, well, it's spreading, and there are things washing up on shore that indicate that the ocean is very hot right below Chile. Chile is also having some reverberations very deep. Haiti is going to follow, and those places could be ripped to shreds very easily in a very short time. So I'm kind of watching them, very nervous about that situation concerning geological processes because I don't think people are quite aware of that. So we're looking at several situations in one actually happening, but we'll keep our eye on them as best we can.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you very, very much for coming on and spending this time with us tonight. And it's very important that everybody knows now how in serious situation is. Everybody needs to go and pray and truly seek God's face. Folks, go read Ezekiel 38 and 39 so you understand that the very countries that we've been talking about tonight are involved in Israel. So even though we've been talking all about Europe, Israel is still the prize. And Russia is sitting right there next to them. And the thing is, they even mentioned in the United Nations, while the very day they were invading Ukraine, the deputy foreign minister of Russia said to the United Nations Security Council, "Hey, the Golan Heights don't belong to Israel. That belongs to Syria, and Jerusalem's not the capital." Why would you say that day? Why would you make that proclamation while you're invading Ukraine? The odds are in.
Doesn't it sound like a next target type of a conversation?
It does.
It's almost like a message that you're our next target.
You're next.
Yeah, that's what it's like.
Mike,
that's what it sounds like.
I will look forward to talking to you next Thursday, if not before, if something else gets to another level.
If it is, let me know.
All right.
Let me know. I'll do my best to coordinate something with you to be here.
Appreciate it, Mike, very much. Thank you so much.
God bless you, Pastor Paul.
All right. God bless. Mike from around the world, folks, being real with us tonight. And great information, confirmation, a lot of stuff that I had already been privy to, but then a lot of additional information that is so important for the time we're in. Folks, I'm going to let you go. I'll be back, of course, tomorrow night with a regular scheduled broadcast at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you don't know Christ as your Savior, I'm going to say it to you again. Just call out on the name of Jesus and let's get things right with God because time is running out. There's over 6,000 of you here tonight, and I know this was spontaneous with only 1 hour to announce that this was happening. So you guys did a great job in spreading the word to let others know the time we're in. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for this evening, for the moderators, for everyone here. And if there's anyone watching right now live or the thousands that will watch this broadcast the next 24 hours on the archives, if any person out there, Lord, wants to give their life to you, I pray, God, that they will call upon your name, Jesus Christ, Yeshua, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, and believe on him and repent of your sins, confess him to the Lord, and he will save you. I'll give an altar call next Sunday night. If you're not saved, tomorrow night come back and we'll help you in the name of the Lord. Good night, everyone, and thank you all for being here. God bless. We are living in the last days. You can go to our website.